Welcome back, viewers, to the PI show. We're talking about unincorporated associations and in particular injuries sustained at school camps and other types of unincorporated clubs. Tony.
A lot of the unincorporated clubs revolve around the churches and in particular the Catholic Church.
Yes.
But before we get to the Catholic Church, let's go to the Hannah and Uniting Church of Australia. What happened in this case, Nons?
Oh, this is a case in which the plaintiff, Jemima Hannah, was at a school camp. I think she stepped off from a rock or a ledge of some sort and she sprained her ankle. Now she sued the organisers of the camp and also her school for failing to look after her after she fell off. So it's not because of the jump off the ledge, but more because of the post-operative, post-care.
She's on a
walk for 5 hours after that.
Yes, yeah. She's on a school camp in the middle of Whoop Whoop, and she says that after she heard a crack in her ankle/foot, the teachers made her walk for 5 more hours.
That's right.
Now,
but she was diagnosed, John, with this condition known as CRSP, which is
Complex Regional
Pain Syndrome 1, which means what?
It's a type of physical injury, Tony, which manifests itself after the initial injury. Now, it's very...
and it has more of a psychological effect that I'm in pain.
There is a psychological element, but in the end it is a physical injury. Now, she says that she was made to walk, however, the judge thought otherwise, didn't he, Tony?
Well, the court found against her, but why?
Well, 2 things. Well, firstly, they felt that there's really no breach and most importantly, no causation. They felt that her injury...
Well, go back to the breach, Nons. The key to it is this. They said that the treatment they gave her after she complained was adequate.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
Well, they said because they checked her ankle, they found look, there was a sprain, but she was good enough to walk on. There was trained, I think, teachers who knew to assess those situations, and they found that they couldn't have done anything more.
Even though she was repeatedly complaining of the pain.
Well,
that's the evidence.
In a judgment, John, they said that she didn't complain enough, that she played it down.
Yeah.
But the other significant point was that the court said that there was no causation, which means that the condition she's got, which is, what is it again?
The Complex Regional Pain Syndrome.
Was not caused by the actual
injury.
Walking.
No, they say it was caused by her jumping off the rock or the ledge, and that was where it's all...
And not by the delay.
No.
Yeah.
Well, doctors couldn't say that anyway, could they, John?
Well, look, there are some doctors that might come up with that, but in this instance, there was no medical evidence supporting that.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which I think is a lot more interesting. It's a case of Alice and the Catholic Church. Now, give me the facts of that, John.
Very interesting case, Tony. We've got a action against, in essence, the Catholic Church for actions done by apparent employees. Which you and I would think are employees of the church. It fails, doesn't it, Tony?
Well, Nunz, the employees are the priests and brothers.
That's right.
And in this case here, what did the court do?
Well, look, this proceeding was initiated initially against 3 defendants. One was obviously the church, or the trust that was held the properties of the church. 2 was the Cardinal Archbishop of Sydney. And 3 was the alleged abuser. I think before the proceeding started, he passed away, so then it went down to 2.
Yes.
And then the court initially found that there was no action against the Cardinal, because he wasn't the one that employed him. He didn't employ the abuser, he had nothing to do with it, which, to be honest, I think is a good decision.
And what about the one against the priest? Well, he's got no money.
Well, individually, you may be able to sue. However, if firstly he's got no money, well, it's a waste of time. And secondly, in this case, he actually died.
And the High Court said that you can't sue the unincorporated association, which is a church, because it's not an entity at law and he's incapable of being sued.
That's right.
I'm astounded, Tony.
So where does that leave us? But you said there's a parliamentary inquiry, John. What's going on
in Victoria? The Baillieu government has recently announced that there will be a parliamentary inquiry into the way that churches and other organisations handle sexual abuse claims.
So at the moment, and I know for a fact that to sue the church is almost impossible, isn't that correct?
Look, it's extremely difficult. You've got to show, I said, like in a case of negligence, that this particular priest or church have had some, I suppose, management or role in the action itself. So in this case, they would have got up if he engaged the alleged abuser, had, I suppose, responsibilities with regard to the way he performed his work and so on.
Isn't the real problem?
Well, one of the real problems is, what about you've got a problem where over 10 years, the Catholic Church, for example, knows that there are people performing these type of acts and not doing anything about it. Who's liable then?
But John, the real problem is that church is made up of thousands of trusts, and you can't identify who to sue.
But at the same time, the courts lift the corporate veil all the time. Why can't they do it here, Tony?
But what are they lifting here? Because at the end of the day, you got trusts all around the world, in Australia, over in Italy, all over the world, and it's hard to identify what particular trust do you sue.
But do you think in this case that the trust was liable?
Well, I think the employer's liable.
Exactly.
Who's the employer?
The employer in this case is still, it comes down to the Catholic Church, Tony.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
And they can't be sued, so it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Well, I say that, there should be amendments to the law, Tony. In Europe and Canada and America, this has been changed, and the churches are now being fined and found civilly liable for the actions of their priests.
There is a case where a church was found responsible, but they actually incorporated.
Yes.
So incorporating means you can identify someone. Look, I just want to highlight one thing, and this is important. When you're dealing with unincorporated associations, the law as it currently stands is that unless an individual exercises some management or other active role on behalf of an association, they aren't liable as principals. But if they do, they are liable for their tortious acts.
Yeah.
It's a fine distinction, isn't it, Tony?
It is. But what it means is that most unincorporated associations are going to be very hard to prosecute or sue.
You can only sue its members if they've had an active role in the case at hand, so the tort.
What if I was the secretary of an unincorporated association, John, and I said to you, can you go on the roof to fix that tile that's broken?
Well, there's a different case. That's a different case. And Nuncio, you know about this case, don't you?
Yeah, look, that would found if there was a breach, that there would be a case in the sense that you're more like a volunteer.
But you couldn't sue the association. You can only sue me for sending you up there.
Just you personally.
Okay. And would I be covered by insurance?
Unlikely. Some people are, some people aren't. So.
Yeah.
Look, the other thing I'd like to highlight, John and Nunz, is that it's important that these unincorporated associations, and even incorporated ones, speak to a broker or go to their insurance company and actually advise them of what you do to make sure that the insurance you do take out does cover you.
Agreed.
Viewers, we've got to go to a sponsors break. Please stay tuned. After the break, we're going to have the mailbag. The mailbag's going to be with Anna, John and Nuncio. Thank you.